Hey everybody, you're at home with a geek. I'm Mark, aka the Little Black Dude. First of all, I want to thank everybody who has subscribed up to this point. This is my 25 subscriber special video. Definitely want to do something a little bit different from my normal videos, so I'm going to tell you guys about my Geekception. This is what got me started into the world of manga and comics and anime, so I felt it was necessary to do so by illustrating with some of the comics that got me to the places that I wanted to go. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. First and foremost, when it comes to comics, I wasn't really big on it until I was about 11 years old. That was when my big cousin gave me a comic that I really liked, and I said I want to see what else I can find. So that leads me into my manga era. Okay, there were a lot of comics that fit into my manga era, but the ones that were most important to me are this right here, which was the first comic that I ever got that I really enjoyed, which was Ninja High School from 1986. Okay, this was from Antarctic Press. Then Dark Horse, who had been doing a lot of independent type stuff. They weren't a big place, but they were releasing a lot of manga, like Oh My Goddess, which I absolutely loved. I followed this for a very long time. Okay? Another of their comics that I was really big for was You're Under Arrest, which in Japanese is Taihoshi Chalaso. Loved this comic so much. As a matter of fact, there's an 8-part series that I was collecting. There is one issue I'm still missing. You're Under Arrest, number 5 of 8. I have yet to find it. If any of you out there come across it, please let me know where I can find it, or if you're able to send it to me, I'd be really happy. I'd really appreciate that. But my manga era was from about 1991 up until about 94, 95 was when I really was focused on that. During that time, though, I got to get my hands on some other things, of course. 1992, for example, was a big year for comics in general because of this lovely comic here, Death of Superman. Everyone that had heard about this particular comic was losing it. They were like, wait a minute, how in the world is Superman supposed to die? And, you know, he's impossible to beat, that kind of thing. So when this came out, people were losing their minds, and I had to read it. A friend of mine let me take a look at that, and I said this was really cool. I was very happy about that. Not long after he did that, I got a hold of this, Green Lantern Mosaic. Okay? This was the comic that got me into Green Lantern in the first place, but it was pretty much just planting the seed rather than, you know, being where everything started for me. Because that was when I had found out about John Stewart and found out that there was more than just, you know, one Green Lantern, because the only one I knew about was Hal Jordan. A few years later, in like 99, 2000, was when I had found out about Justice League, so I was watching the show, really good show, and I started looking around for more information on John Stewart. So I started picking up comics off eBay, and that was where I found Emerald Dawn and Emerald Dawn 2. These were the ones that really kept me going when it came to Green Lantern, because there were 2 6-issue runs that just were really well made. I enjoyed them very much. They talked about when Hal had first gotten the ring from Abensor, as well as when he spent time being trained by none other than Sinestro, which I still find hilarious personally, but that's neither here nor there. During my eBay years, during the years of 2001 to 2003 or so, there was a comic that kept coming up that I was surprised by. I was like, okay, I know they've been around a long time, but why do I keep seeing, you know, these comics that have 1 million, number 1 million? What keeps coming up? So when I got my hands on Green Lantern 1 million, I found out that it was part of a series, which I do have all but one issue of, once again. Booster Gold 1 million, didn't even know it existed. Once again, if you find it, please let me know. There was an entire storyline for the 1 million series, which was commemorating the first issue of Action Comics from 1938, by having a storyline that was happening a million months after that. Now, during this period of time, this was when I was really starting to see a lot of comic book communities showing up online. Around 2005, 2006 was when I was really spending a lot of time reading DC Comics. I was really into the whole concept because of these next 2 books that I came across on a forum about different DC properties. Kingdom Come and The Kingdom. Okay? These 2 are connected in ways. Most people believe that The Kingdom is supposed to be a continuation of Kingdom Come. However, I'm still not really sure myself, and there's a lot of people who argue that they're supposed to be happening at the same time. But both are excellent books even though stylistically they're very different. For example, this side here, every one of the pages was painted by Alex Ross. He does some really good work. Every one of these pages was actually an 11 by 17 painting, and I would love to get my hands on one. The Kingdom, on the other hand, was more like a traditional comic. It felt a little bit different. It felt like it should happen after, but that's neither here nor there. Both of these comics, though, got me picking up graphic novels because it was the easiest way to get my hands on new storylines. For example, The Power of Ion was one of the first Green Lantern storylines that I picked up in a graphic novel format, and I really enjoyed this because for a long time Kyle was my favorite Lantern because of his struggle being the only Green Lantern for a very long time. This particular storyline kept me on top of things, so I started looking for new stories, trying to find out new things. Around 2006, when Infinite Crisis was about to get started, there were a couple of issues, one of which was Countdown to Infinite Crisis, then Prelude to Infinite Crisis. Then there were 4 comics that were leading up to Infinite Crisis. I was following 3 of them. Day of Vengeance, in which the Spectre is trying to destroy all of magic. OMAC Project, where Batman no longer trusts the Justice League as much as he used to, and created hundreds of thousands of robots that could be hidden anywhere, just in case something happened with the Justice League that he couldn't handle by himself. And Rann-Thanagar War, where Kyle Rayner is trying to help Adam Strange and Qatar Hall, Hawkman, try to stop a war between Rann and Thanagar. There was another storyline that was running as well called Villains United, which now I wish I had picked up, but I wasn't reading at the time. This led into Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis led into 52 and Countdown. Really great storylines, but they really weren't as impactful for me as I would have liked. However, I did have, at one point, every issue of 52. I really enjoyed that. When Countdown started, I wanted to get my hands on it, but I wasn't able to do so. For a long while, though, I had to make a big decision between buying comics and living, so I had to choose living for a long time. Well, a few years ago, a good friend of mine gave me a comic that I was really happy about because I had collected the issues, and he thought that I would like to have the graphic novel version as well, and I'm really happy he gave it to me. This is Green Lantern Rebirth. Okay? This was not long after the end of 52. They started redoing everything. That was when the new 52 was getting ready to begin, and Green Lantern Rebirth as well as Green Lantern Corps Recharge were happening at the same time, and I was picking up every issue. I had gotten all 6 of the Green Lantern Corps Recharge issues when they came out, but Green Lantern Rebirth number 6 kept eluding me. So I always am happy to keep this here because it reminds me of a time when I was having hardship as a comic book fan, and somebody was thinking about me. I really enjoyed that. Then, of course, there were other titles that were coming out a lot more, and they were doing a lot more stuff. Remember I was talking about Alex Ross? Alex Ross was actually involved in another really good storyline called Justice. And one of the things I enjoyed about the Justice comics was that they would often release 2 different covers for the same issue. For example, we have the heroes and the villains covers here. I had to get my hands on both of these because they were both excellent. And it's still the same Alex Ross type work. Every piece of it, every page was a painting. Loved every bit of it, and I wish I could get my hands on one. But Justice was such a good story. This opened my eyes to a number of things though, because I needed to branch out a little bit more. And at the time, there were a number of comics that were starting to come out that I thought I would give a shot to. One of which was All-Star Superman. Okay? There was also All-Star Batman and Robin, which now I wish I had gone and grabbed. There was also Batman Year One that was coming out during that time. I had the privilege of reading the graphic novel version as well, so that was pretty cool. But I collected these up until about issue 6. It ran longer than that, but it was a really well-made comic. The writing was excellent. Loved every bit of it. And this was what really kept me going. But for a long time, I wasn't able to hold on to it. So between 2006, 2007, up until about 2012 or so, I wasn't really able to collect comics. I was going to Otakon every year because I still had a love for anime, but just didn't have the kind of money to collect things the way that I would have liked. But recently, I had started getting back into comics, which if you have seen my trip to River City, you would be more aware of. So, what am I reading now? Well, if you watched my video about going to River City Comics over here in Berlin, you would see that I spend a lot of time going over and checking through the back stock of Green Lantern core comics, because that's basically been my thing. But as far as new stuff is concerned, I was picking up Legends of Tomorrow, which is one of the comics that I really had to say I enjoyed, because it was a lot like the older comics from like the 50s and 60s, where you would get collections of stories rather than just a single storyline going through. Really liked everything that they were doing here. For example, Sugar and Spike, absolutely love it because it's so off the wall. Metamorpho is a character I've seen a lot but never really got the screen time that I think he should have. I mean, Rex Mason was only in one episode of Justice League, which threw me off. But when they brought him back for Justice League Unlimited, I was like, okay, this is cool. They're going to do more with him. And they kind of didn't, but that's another story. What I've been most excited about, though, is DK3, okay? DK3, The Master Race, is a continuation from DK2, which was the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, where a much older Batman is handling things way differently. Has a new Robin, a girl by the name of Carrie Kelly, who now becomes a different character, which is still interesting. But again, the artwork in this, the story writing in this, so awesome. Frank Miller, for a long time, wasn't doing so great, but he really did well with this comic. And I was looking forward to this every time it was coming out. The last issue was book 7, which came out at the end of October. I just got my hands on it not too long ago, and I'm looking forward to the final issue, which should be coming out in about a month or so. That was my Geekception. That was how I became a comic book fan. These are the things that got me to a point where I said to myself, look, I want to talk about what it is my fandom is. I mean, you can see over here, as well as up here, I am big on Green Lantern. I enjoy it very much. But I'd like to know more about what you guys like. What is it that your Geekception was? What started you on the path for whatever geekdom you enjoy? Because there's plenty of different kinds of geeks. I'd love to hear about it in the down low. If you're new here, welcome. I really, really hope that you subscribe. I definitely want to see more from my fans and want to take some more time with my brothers and sisters. I'm going to be taking a lot of different trips over the next year or so to go to different places, and I'd really love it if I got the chance to see some of you folks out. So that's my Geekception. Please tell me about yours in the down low. But until next time, stay geek and proud.